Sean, it's an honor to have you on the show. Sorry for the short delay here. What is it that you make of this consistent attacks on Christianity that happened in your home state of Tennessee? I mean, like atrociously, as much as they try and memory hole and cover up for the transgender mass shooting, the worst in American history, that are happening across the globe. When are Christians going to like get smart and recognize that we're under attack because we speak the truth?
Yoel, thank you for having me. And before we get into that, I just wanted to say thank you for your remarks at Charlie's funeral. I thought it was just beautifully done. You put the focus where it needed to be, which is on Christ, who's redeemed us, saves us from our sins, so that, you know, when we're all called home, we get to go see Charlie again.
Yes,
so
right.
Thank you.
And
for
on the
doing
federal
that.
government, and on the federal government, who is their godly duty to strike terror in evil men. Like it is actually God has ordained them and called them to do that. So you must, like Republicans, I know you hate to act, but you must actually act here, right? Yeah.
We government has a public duty to protect the people, to work for their well-being. They are there either as a blessing to the people or as a curse. I hope ours will be a blessing. But you asked at the beginning, why is this happening to Christians? And Jesus told us, you know, before he was crucified, if the world hates you, know that it hated me first. In this world, you will have troubles, but take heart. I have overcome the world. So it is not a news story in human history. Unfortunately, in America, it is a news story. And I think the killing of Charlie has ushered in the age of the American Christian martyr. And as a result, we all need to recognize the threat that we're under. And, you know, Christ calls us to follow him completely, but that doesn't mean we're supposed to be stupid. It doesn't mean we're supposed to be blasé or ignore obvious threats. He gives us a brain for a reason. He said, you know, go sell your cloak and buy a sword to his disciples. He expects us to defend ourselves. We're not just supposed to be sitting there waiting to be taken out. And so I think it is imperative to Christians, whether they are pastors or congregants in a church, maybe they're people with microphones like you or me, maybe they're missionaries. We all have to understand this new threat that we're under in this country, that unfortunately in recent history has rejected God. I hope that's changing. I hope we saw last Sunday the beginning of a new revival, but we need to get smart and we need to understand that people are coming to kill us because of our faith.
Yes. So what does that look like from a federal perspective? And you're always so good at like sort of parsing these things out and what's reasonable. But, you know, I sent this out yesterday. I just had a thought that if this was happening, if there was a mass casualty event at a mosque every month, or at a synagogue every month, or at a Hindu temple every month, that this would be, of course, like the single greatest national imperative to fix that trend. But it's happening at Christian churches every single month, and everybody seems to just like kind of sweep it under the rug. Why is that? And what can we do to fix that?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things we can do. And I don't think it just has to be the federal government. I mean, the first thing we need to do is have state, local, and federal law enforcement crack down on these terrorist cells that are organizing this. I know the media loves to say, oh, this was just, it was a lone wolf. It was just a person acting by himself. You know, sometimes maybe it is. It's rare that it's only ever one person involved in this. Usually there's something going on. There is organization behind the scenes. There's financing behind the scenes. You look at some of these coordinated attacks. We know there was planning. We know there was organization. We know there was logistics. We know there was financing of it. So I think the best thing we can do is kind of what we did after 9/11. If you were involved in a terror cell, whether in the U.S. or overseas, if you were funding these, whether you were domestic or overseas, we came and found you and we crushed you. And I think the threat now is no less than it was on September 11th, 2001. There is a clear and present danger to Christians and people of faith in this country. And the first thing the government has to do, it has an obligation to do, is track down the people coordinating these, inciting them, financing them, bring them to justice, and remove them as threats.
Yes. What happened? What's the status update? I know that you were fighting so very closely with some of the good Republicans in Tennessee that still have a backbone to find out more about the horrific transgender shooting of a Christian school in your backyard, not too far, from, not too far from so many like wonderful people that we know in Nashville. What's become of that? Why was there such an operation to cover that up? Like the truth of that?
Yeah, it's a really shameful thing that happened. That not only were a bunch of Christian children and teachers and staff murdered brutally for no reason other than they wanted to be at school teaching children to read and write and worship Christ. There was a concerted effort to cover up everything that happened there. It was a trans individual who, very openly wanted to go kill Christians. We know because she had a diary of it. And what happened with that diary? It was actually suppressed for years by people who didn't want this narrative getting out. And it was the narrative was the truth that the transgender movement in this country is utterly, utterly violent. And we know why they're violent, because the first victim of someone who's transgender is not the person in a school that they go out and shoot. It's the person who they are. The first act of violence every transgender person commits is against themselves. It's against himself or herself. You can understand why they hate the world so much when they hate themselves. And to get a grip on this ideology, we have to be truthful about what it is. And that's a lie. It's a delusion. And the example that I usually give is, imagine someone who's bulimic. This is a person who believes he or she is, morbidly overweight. And so they go and they throw up all the time, trying to get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. It's something that will eventually kill this person. You'll have, a 75-pound person who's dying go in and tell the doctor, I'm overweight. If the transgender ideology movement had the same book on this person who's bulimic, they would say, you know what, you are fat and you are disgusting, and we're going to help you get skinnier. And we don't care if it kills you, because we are here to cater to your delusions. If a doctor did that, they wouldn't just lose their license, they would be tried and convicted. And that's actually what we need to be doing with this evil transgender ideology and the people who push it. It is every bit as evil as telling someone who's bulimic, yeah, you're fat, you need to lose weight. We need to tell these people what reality is.
It's funny that you bring that up, because it does seem, some people are like, whoa, this attack in Michigan, there's no way to put them all together because this guy was an Iraq war veteran. And like, what does he have to do with, let's say, the Annunciation shooter who killed the Catholic school children that were praying? And if you zoom out, Sean, like what you'll see is that we're kind of like fighting evil, actually. Like it's like the colors sort of disappear and the frame kind of disappears, and you can just kind of see that like we're in the age-old battle against an evil that wishes to kill us, and it's a spiritual battle, in fact. And that's why I was so uplifted by what happened at Charlie's memorial, where like, I don't know, bro. Like I've seen thousands of Donald Trump speeches. I've written Don Jr. speeches, okay? Like I know the way that Don Jr. thinks. I've never seen the two of those guys share their faith in Jesus Christ, like on a stage before. Never. And maybe we will never see it happen again. And I think what a profound blessing that Charlie has left us with, that was something that happened, not at a private event, but at scale for hundreds of millions of people to watch. Because frankly, the answer here is spiritual, because the entities we're fighting are spiritual. They are denying God, as you said. They are denying truth and light. And there's only one way to really fight that.
Yeah, our battle's not with flesh and blood. It's with powers and principalities. And that funeral for Charlie was so amazing. I had a realization when we were in the middle of it, singing. When I found out that Charlie had been shot, my family and I were overseas. We were totally disconnected from everything. And I just got on my knees, not knowing, what had happened, whether he was going to live or die. And I begged God, I begged him, save Charlie, save his life that it might glorify you. Mm-hmm. And I had that realization in that moment. I think it was during the blessing, that song that they were singing. God answered my prayer. He said no. But he also said, I'm not going to use his life for glory. I'm going to use his death. And as a result of Charlie's life and his death, we were able to witness the single greatest proclamation of Jesus Christ in all of human history. Hundreds of millions of people were exposed to it. And you were in that room as well. You felt the power there. You felt the Holy Spirit. You knew something amazing was happening. And then it ended with every single major American leader, the most powerful people on earth, proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. That is truly amazing. So they can go and burn our churches. They can shoot us. They can chop us up. They can never stop Jesus Christ. And I think that should give us great confidence and great power going forward. That most of us, we don't know how our end is going to come. It could come tomorrow. It could come 50 years from now in our sleep. But we all know where we're going. And it doesn't matter how many churches they burn in Canada. It doesn't matter how many Christians they massacre in Nigeria. It doesn't matter how many martyrs they make in America. We are going to win this fight. And all that's required of us is to persevere to the end.
I love that message, Sean. Life is for the living, and God calls for us to fight for truth and light. You do so at the Federalist. I want to give you an opportunity to maybe just sound off about going on offense. A clip that I think has gone perhaps the most viral since Charlie's death of any of the clips is something that was filmed sort of surreptitiously behind the scenes when Charlie was in Nebraska. I know we have it. Maybe we could, ALS, would you mind grabbing it and sending it into the production team? So we just pop it up as B-roll. It's Charlie talking about going on offense. And he was in Nebraska to try and muscle and bully the weakling Republicans in Nebraska into doing winner take all in Nebraska, which is, of course, something they should do. It is an obscenity that we hand an electoral vote to the Democrats every single year in Nebraska, of all places, with supermajority Republican supermajorities throughout the state. And Charlie's talking about, listen, you don't understand, these people are out to kill us. And they want a radical reformation of the United States. And you don't get that by conserving and sitting back and defending. You get that by going on offense and pushing and fighting back and taking things from them, in fact. And the Federalist does this. And in true form, man, Sean, you're one of the only people that truly actually fights. And this is what I don't think. I'm so glad that I'm so thankful that whoever published this clip, that this clip went out there, because this is the Charlie I knew, Sean, and it's the Charlie you knew. I know you did Charlie's show. I know you worked closely with him. The Charlie I knew was always no, we go 50 times harder, right? We don't sit back. If they hit us, we hit back. We keep going, metaphorically, right? Non-violently. But we're going to win these battles, these culture war battles. Federalist is carrying on that torch. Can you talk a little bit about that spirit?
Yeah, we believe in winning by winning, not winning by losing. You win by winning. I'm so sick and tired.
I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt, Sean.
I'm so sick and tired of stupid old guard Republicans who don't care about winning. They only care about beating the spread. They care about moral victories, not actual victories. Okay, I believe we have a country to save. I believe we have a people to save. I want to win. I want to put points on the board. And my politics now is I want to crush the left. I want to crush them. I want them to not even be a memory. So I have no interest in getting along. I have no interest in compromise. The only thing I want to do is win. That is our goal. Politics is about winning. Okay, it's not about patting yourself on the back for being a really nice, good loser, so the left can go and crucify us and deny reality. No, I want to win. That's all I care about is winning. That's what every Republican should care about is winning. So we should do what is required within the bounds of law and morality to win. So yeah, let's stop trying to win by losing and just start winning by winning.
I love that answer, Sean. I'm like sitting there saying hallelujah. I'm like, hey, can I get an amen? Yes. Win by winning, not win by losing. It was such, it's, I don't obviously there's a very evil Trantifa member who pulled the trigger and shot Charlie and killed him. Okay. But there was a sequence of events that led to that must be studied. And one of them, and I'm sorry, I have to ask a follow-up to what you just said. One of them was Paul Ryan in the aftermath of a bunch of Republicans getting bullets riddled through their bodies, including Republican leadership, in the congressional baseball shooting, something that I know you well remember, as do I. Paul Ryan, didn't take any steps to say, how is this man radicalized? His name's James T. Hodgkinson. I'm the only guy in media that still remembers this guy's name. Because I covered it and I went through his Facebook account. And his entire Facebook account was Rachel Maddow links, MSNBC articles, Every single time Trump was called Hitler, every time a Republican was called fascist, and this was in 2017. This was close to a decade ago. And Republican weaklings didn't use it as an opportunity to take this Bernie Sanders campaign worker and use him as an example of how dangerous the left had gotten. Republicans just like linked arms with the people that were calling him Nazi and fascist and like said and saying kumbaya and then let it continue and didn't do anything, right? And that's what I don't want to happen now, right? I need that. This must be a teachable moment for the right, that winning looks like winning and defeating like a terrorist element that wants you dead. Like, this is what them winning this is what the terrorists winning look like. We must win against the terrorists. Sean, your thoughts, finally.
Yeah, I think Michael Malice is the one who said, they want us dead, but they'll settle for our submission. But they really, really do want us dead. And you may recall at the time how the FBI characterized what happened in that terrorist attack on the Republicans. They called it suicide by cop. That's how they categorized that guy's death, was suicide by cop, because that's what he did. He just went there because he wanted cops to kill him. It's not that he wanted to murder a bunch of people. And I've had this discussion with friends over the last couple of weeks saying, will Republicans wake up? And I said, probably not, unless we force them to wake up. These are people who didn't do anything when they were nearly murdered. Okay. They didn't do anything when Rand Paul was nearly murdered in his yard by a deranged neighbor. Okay. So if they're not even really that protective of their own lives, they're certainly not going to care at all about yours or mine. So it's kind of like our job now. There's a reason that the people they're killing are the people with microphones, not election certificates. And I think it's because, sadly, so many of the ones with election certificates have proven themselves utterly useless and unwilling to do anything, and therefore not really even worth paying attention to. So it's our job to get these people to sack up and grow a spine, or to replace them, because they're clearly not interested at all in doing any of these things they need to do to protect their voters, their constituents, or their country.
Yes. Yes, you make such a great point. Yeah. Oh, it is such a great point. I really wish the Republican billionaire class, the left-wing billionaire class, is funding militant terrorists to kill those who are influential on the right. Now, maybe some of them are members of Congress, but a lot of them are like Charlie, who's like a proper influencer. A lot of people claim to be an influencer. Charlie had true influence, right? He's truly red-pilling an entire generation successfully. So left-wing billionaires are straight up funding terrorism. That's plainly obvious when you follow the money. But right-wing billionaires are funding like White Papers, a Heritage Foundation. Not a knock, okay? Like, I like the people at Heritage. They've done some great work. But what I'm saying is they're funding like right-wing billionaires don't understand what time it is. And that there'll be no more influence. That's not something that can easily be like built up, or like typed away by some guy who, went to the Ivy Leagues in some ivory tower somewhere in DC. Like, this is like a real war, actually. On people with influence on the right. And there's just not that much, frankly, because it's like really hard to build and it's really dangerous. And so like I'd love for right-wing billionaires to like understand what time it is, And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but they, there has to be like an awakening here with like the entire Republican superstructure to get this right. Like now needs to be the wake-up time.
Yeah, the left has always understood they're playing the long game. The right plays the short game. The right has tended to focus on winning elections, which is you obviously have to win elections. You can't implement stuff if you're not in charge, so you need to win elections. But the right has almost been exclusively focused on it, while the left has been focused on what they call the long march through the institutions. It's been a 100-year plan. They want to control every major institution and then bend the country to its will. Just look at the transgender movement, for example. It's like 0.1% of the public, and yet they are getting every corporation to post the trans flag, to use pronouns, to go after people who say obvious things like boys can't become girls and girls can't become boys. The left actually understands true power, And the right is just beginning to understand it. So if you're a right-wing billionaire or millionaire out there and you want to know how to fix this country and how to actually fight back, you have to invest in long-term infrastructure. It means investing in media. It means investing in education. It means investing in culture. These are the ways that the left has taken over the country, despite the fact of the majority of the country disagreeing with their ideas. A firmly committed and well-organized minority can do amazing things. Imagine what a truly committed, well-funded, overwhelming majority can do, which is what we are in this country. So hopefully that is beginning to change on our side. And the people who donate to politics and are invested in it now understand you can't just throw money at a candidate every 2 years. You can't just get involved in even years. You have to be building the infrastructure decade after decade after decade.
Yes. You sure are doing that at the Federalist. Sean Davis, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you're following those who are actually truly fighting for you. Sean understands the fight better than most. He's got 750,000 subscribers here on X, and you must be one of them. And we're going to be doing a lot of good work with Sean in the future. We just love his energy and the fact that the Federalist does actually, in fact, fight these culture wars. So Godspeed, sir.
Thank you, Benny.